Hello hockey fans, and welcome back to another video. When fans of the sport bring up the name Esposito, it's likely that one of two players are being mentioned. Either they are referring to Phil Esposito, the Hall of Fame forward who won a pair of Stanley Cups and retired as the league's 6th leading scorer at the time, or they are instead thinking of his brother Tony Esposito, a fellow Hall of Famer in his own right who won 3 Vezina trophies and a Rookie of the Year award as one of the top netminders of his generation. However, there is a third Esposito who often goes unmentioned nowadays by the name of Angelo. Though he shares no relation to either of his previous namesakes, thanks to his dominance of the major junior circuit and his first round selection at the draft, Angelo Esposito was also expected to become a star in the NHL. To say that he failed to live up to this potential, though, would be an absolute understatement, as the Canadian forward would never suit up in a single NHL game before hanging up his skates for good soon after his 28th birthday. So what caused this steep fall from grace? Why didn't he develop into the player everyone thought he would become? Well, thanks to a number of serious injuries and some pretty rotten luck, Angelo was unable to reach his once lofty expectations. This is the story of the other Esposito. In order to tell this unfortunate tale, allow me to take you back to August 1st, 2005, when Canadian forward Angelo Esposito was selected 11th overall during the QMJHL draft by the Quebec Ramparts. Though his skill level and sky-high potential had previously put him in the conversation as a potential first overall pick, Angelo had stirred up some controversy just before the draft by informing every general manager in the league that he intended to play college hockey in the NCAA for the upcoming 05-06 season. Finding out that one of the most talented players in the draft had no intentions of playing in the Q that year, quite understandably forced a lot of teams to focus their attention elsewhere, especially those picking in the top 10 of the draft. That said, this decision didn't stop everyone. Just before Val d'Or was set to make the 11th pick in the draft, the Quebec Ramparts swooped in and acquired the choice so they could specifically select Angelo, sending several players and draft picks the other way in order to do so. The Ramparts' eagerness to select him, their reputation as one of the top junior teams in the country, and their close proximity to Angelo's hometown of Montreal must have made quite the impact on the youngster, as Angelo quickly changed his tune and decided to join Quebec's organisation for the upcoming year. From there, Angelo would debut with the Ramparts during the 05-06 QMJHL season, and to say that he made a strong first impression would be the understatement of the year. Playing on the team's first line alongside Matthew Melanson and future NHL star Alexander Radulov, the 16-year-old would explode on the scoresheet by potting an incredible 39 goals and 98 points in just 57 regular season games. The kid scored nearly 2 points a game against some of the best teenage players in the country as a 16-year-old. Oh, and he also added 11 points in 23 playoff games, as the Ramparts came just 2 wins away from the President's Cup, given to the league's playoff champions, so it's safe to say he had a pretty good rookie season. If that wasn't impressive enough though, this outstanding performance would also earn Angelo several awards and accolades. As he was named both a Player of the Week and a Rookie of the Month during the season, he was awarded a place on the QMJHL's All-Rookie team, and he was given the Michel Bergeron Trophy as the league's Offensive Rookie of the Year. So just a season into his major junior career, Angelo Esposito had stuck around much closer to home than originally intended, shown that he was more than worthy of being considered a first overall pick, and had cemented his reputation as one of the top up-and-coming players in North America. Not bad for a guy who was thinking about playing college hockey just a year prior, eh folks? Now if you thought his productive play was done there though, the teenage forward was only just getting started. Though he would never reach the same lofty numbers as his debut year in the league, the following 06-07 season would see Angelo continue to light the lamp for the Ramparts night after night, as he scored 27 goals and 79 points in 60 regular season games. Having potted an incredible 177 points in just 117 games over the last 2 years, and with him turning 18 years old midway through the season, the Canadian forward was eligible to be selected at the 2007 NHL draft, and had garnered quite a bit of interest at the upcoming event. The The notable decrease in his scoring from one year to the next may have seen his draft stock fall from potential first overall selection to a mid-first round pick, but Angelo was still considered to be one of the premier choices of his age group. This reputation culminated in the youngster joining a new organisation soon after the event began, as on June 22, 2007, Angelo Esposito was taken 20th overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Following his selection at the draft, Angelo would return to Quebec for another year with the team after being loaned by the Penguins for the entirety of the 07-08 season. Despite suiting up as an overager in the league, the Canadian forward would go on to register his least productive season yet. That said, Angelo would serve as an alternate captain of the Ramparts roster. His plus-minus was double what it was the season before at a plus 18, and he was still able to score 30 goals and 69 points in just 56 regular season games. So it's not as if his numbers fell off a cliff or anything, you know. In the midst of this season though, the Canadian forward would discover that the Pittsburgh Penguins had traded his contract rights to another NHL team, as on February 26, 2008, Angelo was traded to the Atlanta Thrashers, along with Colby Armstrong, Eric Christensen and a 2008 first-round pick, in exchange for Pascal Dupuis and Marian Hossa. Well, I think we know who won that trade, don't you? Though he had been dealt by the team that drafted him before ever playing a game for them, Angelo would finish the year strong by suiting up in his first pro hockey game. Once the Ramparts had been eliminated from the 2008 playoffs, the first-round pick would join the Thrashers' AHL affiliate, the Chicago Wolves, for a brief stint at the end of the year. That said, he would only suit up in a single contest for the team, where he went scoreless and registered a -1 for his efforts. Let's cut him some slack, guys, it was his first game, you know. Despite a disappointing season offensively compared to his previously high standards, Angelo's development appeared to be on the right track. After all, he had become a leader for his team both on the ice and in the locker room, and though he had scored less points than any other year in the queue, he had clearly shown notable improvement in his overall game. If Angelo could continue this progression over the next few years, he would not only get to make his NHL debut, he could earn a more permanent place in the best league in the world. Unfortunately though, his dream of making it to the bigs would never come true. The 08-09 season would see Angelo take to the ice in his fourth and final year in the QMJHL, but this time as a member of the Montreal Juniors, having been traded by the Ramparts on June 7, 2008. Not long after this transaction though, the Canadian forward would put pen to paper on his first pro contract, as on July 18, 2008, Angelo signed a 3-year entry-level deal with the Atlanta Thrashers, worth up to $2.4 million in total salary and bonuses. Not a bad payday, eh, folks? But anyway, after joining Montreal and producing a strong start with his new team, the overager would earn a call-up to Team Canada's roster for the upcoming 2009 World Junior Championships. Though he had been cut from the team before the tournament in each of the past 3 years, fourth time seemed to be the charm, as the 19-year-old would finally earn a place on the roster for the tournament. In fact, Angelo would score the game-winning goal against Sweden in the gold medal match to secure Canada's victory, so it's safe to say that they made the right choice on this one. However, this great high would soon be followed by an equally crushing low, as shortly after his return to Montreal, Angelo would be sidelined for the rest of the season after tearing an ACL in his right knee, meaning he would miss the final few months of the year and had finished the season with 24 goals and 42 points in 35 games. Having notched 288 points in 208 QMJHL games over the last 4 seasons, and with him being too old to return to juniors for another year, the 09-10 season would see Angelo finally turn pro as he joined the AHL Chicago Wolves on a more permanent basis. Though he was hoping to impress the team's coaching staff and perhaps even earn a call-up to the NHL, it wasn't meant to be. After scoring just 4 assists in his first 12 games of the season, the former first-round pick would somehow tear another ACL in his right knee, which sidelined him for the rest of the year, and ultimately brought his first pro season to an abrupt end. Now that's some rotten luck. So after being chosen as the 20th best player of his age group only 3 years prior, and having led his country to a gold medal, Angelo Esposito had played just 47 games over the last 2 seasons, thanks to suffering the exact same injury in both years. Of course, it's not exactly his fault that he'd been sidelined for such an extended period of time, but the severity of his injury and the number of times he had suffered it meant that the likelihood of him living up to his lofty potential wasn't looking too good. After all, suffering one torn ACL can be pretty damaging to a player's career, but for it to happen a second time so soon after can really limit someone's effectiveness on the ice, to the point where they become a shell of their former selves or are even forced into retirement. That said, Angelo's career wasn't over just yet. I mean, the guy was still just 21 years old, had no prior history of serious injuries, and had begun to find his rhythm at the AHL level. There was still plenty of time for him to get healthy again, and one day earn his place on an NHL roster. Would he actually go on to achieve this though? Unfortunately not. The following 10-11 season saw a much healthier Angelo return to the Wolves for another try with the team, and though he would finally suit up in his first real pro season, he clearly wasn't the same player. The Canadian forward went on to score just 3 goals and 13 points in 57 games, just 9 more points than the year prior, but in 45 more games. This lackluster production, coupled with his struggles to get up to speed with the AHL game, prompted the Thrashers, who relocated and became the Winnipeg Jets after the season was over, to move on from the former first-round pick, as on July 9th, 2011, Angelo was traded to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Kendall McArdle. Now, if you thought moving to his third NHL team would help him get his career back on track, you would be very, very wrong. As Angelo joined the Panthers organisation for the start of the 11-12 season, the recent acquisition would once again find himself in the minors as he joined Florida's AHL affiliate, the San Antonio Rampage. Unfortunately though, he would once again fail to rediscover his high-scoring play from his days in the queue. With 6 points in his first 16 games with the team, Angelo's performance was deemed so expendable that he was demoted to Florida's ECHL affiliate, the Cincinnati Cyclones. After scoring a single assist in 3 games with the team, the Panthers decided that Angelo's time with the organisation had come to an end, as on January 13th, 2012, he was traded to the Dallas Stars in exchange for Andre Roman, meaning he had joined the 4th NHL team of his career and the 3rd in just the last calendar year alone. From there, the Canadian forward would spend the rest of the season with Dallas's AHL affiliate, the Texas Stars, where he produced a slightly better end to the year by potting 5 goals and 16 points in 38 games, bringing his full season totals to 21 points in 52 AHL games. Once the season had come to an end, and having scored just 38 points in 124 AHL games over the last 4 seasons, the 23-year-old had seemingly run out of chances to earn a place in the best league in the world. After his entry-level contract had expired and he became an unrestricted free agent on the market, no NHL or AHL team offered Angelo a contract for the upcoming year, meaning that if he wanted to keep playing hockey professionally, he would have to seek out another opportunity either lower down the ladder in North America or elsewhere in the hockey world. Thankfully, this opportunity would present itself just a few months later, as on July 26, 2012, Angelo signed a 1-year contract with the Lahti Pelicans of the Finnish Liga for the upcoming 12-13 season. So having been taken as the 20th best player of his draft class half a decade ago, Angelo Esposito had not only left North America, having never suited up in a single NHL game, he had also struggled to become a productive player in the minor leagues too. Now the question that often comes next when discussing first-round picks who never made it to the bigs is why? Why was Angelo unable to translate his high-scoring game from the juniors to the pros? Why couldn't he earn even a brief stint in the NHL, let alone secure a more permanent place in the league? Well, if you ask me, Angelo's injury troubles during his transition to the AHL played a significant role in preventing him from becoming the player everyone thought he would. Of course, you can't put the blame solely on his injuries, as he was still able to take to the ice and make an impact for his team for many years after these incidents, but suffering 2 torn ACLs in less than a calendar year had clearly made a significant impact on his overall game. After all, sustaining multiple injuries in the same knee had meant that Angelo wasn't as fast as he once was, and he had seen his skating ability take a notable hit, something that had always been a strength in his game and had set him apart from the competition. Couple that with spending half the season on the injured reserve list in back-to-back years, and Angelo had also missed out on many months of key development and refinement of his game, which could have helped him adjust to the pro level better and set him up for a long and successful career. Not only that, rehabbing the same serious injury multiple times would make even the most talented of players think twice about taking risks or making certain plays for fear of re-injuring themselves or causing a premature end to their careers. So although Angelo had failed to live up to expectations, had never made it to the NHL, and had produced an underwhelming stint in the minors, if you ask me, the Canadian forward did the best that he could with the hand that he was dealt. It just goes to show you that you can have all the talent or promise in the world, but all it takes is some bad luck for it all to come crashing down. That said, Angelo wasn't ready to call it a career just yet. Once he had left North America behind, the next few years of Angelo's career would see him embark on quite the trip around Europe. Though he would begin the 12-13 season in the Finnish Liga and score 7 points in 29 games with the Pelicans, the Canadian forward would end up finishing the year in Italy after mutually terminating his contract with Lahti. After scoring 4 points in 5 games with Milano Rossoblu, the former first-round pick would remain in Italy for the following 13-14 season, but he would take his talents to HC Bolzano of the EBEL. Despite spending the entire year with the team, he was once again unable to rediscover his impressive scoring touch from juniors, as he scored 8 points in 34 regular season games before going scoreless in 13 playoff games. As the 14-15 season rolled around, Angelo decided to take another crack at playing in North America as he joined the ECHL's Fort Wayne Komets on a 1-year deal. However, his return closer to home would be incredibly brief, as after just a single game on the roster, Angelo asked to be released from the Komets, who agreed to his request and subsequently waived him from the team. Having spent the rest of the season on hiatus from the sport, Angelo decided that he wasn't done playing just yet and wanted to ride out his career for as long as he could, as he headed back to the Italian League for the 15-16 season in order to join SG Cortina. In fact, his lengthy stint away from the sport somehow gave Angelo's game a new lease of life, as he finished the year with 15 goals and 38 points in just 31 regular season games, his most productive season since turning pro 7 years prior. Hey, it may have happened in one of Europe's lower tier leagues, but at least he had one strong season during his pro career, eh folks? Following his third stint in Italy, Angelo would look to try his luck elsewhere in the continent as he joined Cesc Budějović of the Czech League 2 for the 16-17 season. However, after 9 games with the team, the Canadian forward suffered a concussion which kept him out of the lineup for the rest of the year, meaning he finished the season with just a single goal for his efforts. In fact, sustaining another notable injury and spending most of the year out of the lineup yet again was enough for Angelo to decide that it was time to call it quits, as the 28-year-old officially announced his retirement from the sport at the end of the season. Once he had called it a day on his career, Angelo would return home to Montreal, where he continues to give back to the game he loves by teaching the next generation of hockey players through his various coaching and player development roles. Away from the rink, though, Angelo has put his newfound extra time towards working as a real estate investor and a landlord for a number of properties within the Quebec area. Having bought his first property in 2015, Angelo owned over 40 properties as of 2018, so provided things kept to their upward trend, he has likely added even more properties to his collection in the 3 years since. If all of that wasn't eventful enough for you though, more recently, the former first-round pick also ran as a candidate during Canada's 2019 federal election as a representative of the Conservative Party, but he was unable to secure enough support to win his district as he received almost 11% of the vote. That might not seem that impressive, but to be fair, he finished 3rd place out of 8 candidates with nearly 6,000 votes, so it could have gone a lot worse for him, you know. though he was never able to live up to the hype or make it to the NHL, considering he spent many seasons dominating the major junior circuit, scored the gold medal goal for Team Canada at the World Juniors, and took to the ice in 6 different leagues across 4 different countries over 7 seasons as a pro, Angelo Esposito was able to turn a disappointing situation into one hell of a journey across the hockey world. It may not have turned out the way anyone was hoping, but Angelo's career sure was an eventful one. And that's the story of the other Esposito. What do you guys think about Angelo's career as a pro hockey player? Do you think he would have made it to the NHL if not for his injury trouble, or did he make the best of a bad situation? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Carl Fairbank, Chris Gadsby, Connor B, Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Jordan Whitehead, Tom from Finland, and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.